Excellent. All right, all right, all right. Let's see what's popping. Popping. Okay, let's see if showing up on Facebook. Good morning, Stayside. Good morning to you guys. Good afternoon, live from London. It's about 4 p.m. here, and it must be about 10 a.m., 11 a.m. your area, Eastern. I think it's 10 a.m. Central. And if you're just waking up on the West Coast, which I think is Pacific time, welcome. Thank you for joining. I'm just going to see if we are live on Facebook, if I can see you guys. Yes. Good morning, guys. Perfect. And all right, well, we've got a lot to cover today, so I'm going to get started with the king, the daddy of them all, with Bitcoin. So yes, give me a moment while I do my final checks. Make sure you can hear me, see me. The lighting, I'm not sure if it'll get brighter shortly, but anyway. Great to see you guys. Great to have you. Oh, great to see you. Great to have you joining in with me, and hopefully we can get this week started right now. We are, I know I said this before, we are at a critical point where it's been overbought for how long now with Bitcoin, and I saw that the week closed out with a doji candle. So that is a reversal candle that gives us an ominous clue that there is some exhaustion, bullish exhaustion. That word always trips my tongue out. So, oh, sorry. Bullish exhaustion. Okay, and oh yeah, side note, by the way, we have your president here in the UK, in London, as we speak, meeting the Queen, and needless to say, there will be some protesters here making their voices heard, and a baby Donald Trump balloon being floated. But yeah, I think he's been welcomed. Most of it has been positive for him and his family so far, but we have him in the UK, and I'm staying out of it. I ain't getting involved. I've had my political discussions with many people, so I'm not going to be one of the ones lining up and welcoming him. Welcoming him near Buckingham Palace. I'm more about empowering our people and get this crypto knowledge today and developments in this space. So I'm gonna be checking my phone back and forth, by the way, so don't mind me. You know what, I've just put it to the side now so I can see any comments or any issues. So all right, guys, so where are we now? And in fact, while I said Bitcoin, let me get the chart right in front of me as well. And it is currently correcting, and let me see, we are, yeah, there's a bearish candle forming on the daily. It hasn't closed yet, but doesn't look good so far because it did retest yesterday. We saw highs of 8,800. I know some exchanges are different, prices ever so slightly though, and it tried to come up and retest 9K again, and it just couldn't do it. It was just this much off, just $100 off. But the average calculated price that was showing on Coin Market Cap yesterday, did give us an average price of 8,809. So that if you take a look on the weekly time frame, guys, Bitcoin, in fact, on the daily and the weekly has been showing this sharp rally that we've been experiencing, and it has been on that weekly, on the overbought condition. So if you take a look at the RSI stock, you'll be able to see it's now saying sell, 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 right? And it's all about seeing, retesting previous highs and lows, and it doesn't look good right now in the short term. I have to add, it could actually, if it tried to, if it goes down to 8K and rebounds again and goes up to retest the previous areas, or between 8,700 to 9,000, there is still a bullish momentum. There's still, volumes keep propping up the price right now. But so far, it's looking like it's barely holding on. So we'll see. I mean, this has been the case with Bitcoin throughout the last few days and weeks anyway. Even with the corrections that it's made, it's still made higher lows. So it didn't fall back all the way back to retest 5K or 4K. It just continued, especially when it broke that key 6K area. It just took a breather and then continued climbing. And so for it to be, taking these short stops, and consolidating a little bit, even just a matter of at the most just a few days, and then it continues climbing. Where we are though, if you take a look at the weekly time frame and the way the candles are, the last 2 weeks have been formed, it doesn't look like there's bullish, the level of volumes and transactions, and the sentiment is still there, still strong. However, we're getting to the point where the market will be looking to retest previous lows. In my opinion, if it is going to correct, it's looking to retest potentially 7K, 6K. But here's how we know if it's on its way to reversing down, because it's all about market structure as well. As long as it continues creating these higher lows, and so when you look at the lower points when it's pulled back, you can see that the price is still been climbing. If at any stage it then breaks that pattern and it's now on a, it's completely reversed and it's making these lower highs and lower lows, we'll be able to then know, okay, it's now, going down, and it looks like it may be turning out to be a retracement. On the larger time frame, from what we can see, this is healthy. I mean, after a prolonged bear market, and the buyers were getting impatient, so we did see a bottoming out at 3,100, but for it to then rebound and come this strongly, come back up and experience this initial sharp rally is absolutely natural, and is to be expected, given as what's been helping it as well with the bullish positive developments happening as well in the space. The market has been, and market makers world have been using critical, areas, price wise, to be able to then use that as a catalyst. All these big moves that we've been seeing has been mostly on the technical side, because when those moves happened, there was no major fundamental news that triggered that price movement. So these are calculated, and they're looking to spark off a rally, a rise out of bulls, and get them excited again, because it's been oversold for quite some months, and we've been seeing the we're coming out of crypto winter, and when the downward trend was broken, there was real hope now. Okay, we are on the recovery. We're completely changing the cycle up now. But if you take a look at how price action works, how these patterns form, and if you look at Bitcoin's history in particular, when it's coming out of a recovery, it's still going to have some wild swings, but the progress it makes long term is going up to create all-time highs. So we still have the long-term value, the long-term viewpoint. We have these insights that we've been sharing with you. But where we are right now in the short term, in the immediate term, especially if you're trading, you're aware of the key areas. And so we've been using, and certainly by other investors have been using these pullbacks as opportunities to buy the dip, basically, even with Wells triggering off certain breakouts and the market. You can also see that with the media, they've been reacting and creating this environment of FOMO again as well. So the way we know that this is continuing to go and test the previous resistant areas. So I mentioned 6K before, and then we mentioned what do you call it, 7K, 8K. At some point, if it's going to get to 10K, I think that 9K will be broken with a massive force. I mean, actually, it did before. It did try and retest it, but the what do you call it? The selling pressure was too much. It did actually break it on a few exchanges, by the way. But I'm talking about sustaining it and actually going up to go to 9,500 on its way to 10,000. So when it does break that 9,000 again, I think it'll come back with a major push, major volume, and it will be looking to target 10K. However, that's dependent on how price reacts, how the market reacts to between now and a few days from, I would say by the end of the week, actually. Because things do move fast in this moment. I don't want to give any exact dates because of how Bitcoin reacts. But from what we can see, if these higher lows are not sustained, then it's looking to do a correction and head back down, move to the downside and retest potentially 6K. Because the way we broke 6K we didn't even stay there long enough to appreciate it. It continued climbing. I mean, the way that this particular rally has been moving, it does give a tiny bit of cause for concern because it didn't give enough. These corrections, these pullbacks that we've been seeing, are not convincing to me. I mean, the bullish sentiment has been so strong, and the way the conversations around, I mean, the renewed interest in this market because of Bitcoin's bullish, price action has been, some have been cautiously optimistic, which is the position that we should take naturally as investors. But it's very easy after a long bear market to get carried away at this point. We need a healthy correction at some point. It'd be best to just get it out of the way and have it done now, like before we break that 10K, rather than have it more severe when we do break 10K. So, if it does go, if it does break these higher lows, if it if it fails to continue this momentum that we're on right now in the short term, and it breaks down and it stays, I mean, if the volumes are not keeping up with the pace, so we see decline in volumes, decline in transactions, and they continue declining, that's a bearish short-term move that's going on, but that is considered as a healthy correction if you look at the larger time frame. So better to get that out of the way and then have a continuation where we do project it to go beyond 10K at some point, and have that sustained. So this is essentially another opportunity, another chance to accumulate at these lower price points. And if it does, oh, I know some people will get excited, like they'll be thinking and acting like true investors. If they see it come down to 6K, 4K, 3K, and even potentially if we do see a situation where there's still an element of what do you call it? There's still this narrative out there that states the fundamentals still haven't caught on. We still have to get regulatory clarity. We still have to have certain things in place before we can go truly parabolic. But we know from what we saw as well in 2017, when we saw these regions, RSI stock and other aspects showing that it's been overbought, Bitcoin continued to violate those regions and continue to go up, 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 up until, after 20K, it corrects severely. So, we have to be, especially if you're a trader right now, you're looking to be super cautious at this point, lower your risk at this point. If you're using leverage, that is, you definitely want to be careful with the lot sizes you use. But right now, from what we can see, the momentum has been with the bulls, but there is a sense of anticipation that, a little bit of anxiety with some people that there will be, another correction. And this particular correction will be important because it could end up being prolonged by the whales, which is what they previously did on previous cycles. When it's, looking to recover, then there's another correction down, and then it goes on to make higher highs and so on. But this is the part where we get to find out if it's retesting, which is absolutely healthy to do so, whether it's going to be pulling back all the way to 6K, which would be great, 6K, and then bounce back up again, or if it wants to really shake up and terrify, especially new Bitcoin holders, crypto holders coming into the space, seeing the bullish moves recently. It may shake their confidence and get them to stay out of the market and give up their Bitcoins. And so this will be a chance either way. If the worlds take it down to previous lows, they're looking to accumulate, no question. And the smartest of buyers, I mean, the ones that bought in the low during November and December, apparently, based on stats, they showed that that was the highest period. And since then, it has been slowly increasing, but that was a particular, that 3,100, and you saw that price point didn't last that long, rebounded quickly and went on to test breaking that 4K, 5K was a lot more difficult than breaking 6, 7, 8K. And so where we are right now, I'm still keeping an eye out on it, still not making enough. I think it will try and, from what I'm seeing with the pivot, like the previous, I'm looking at the 4-hour time frame. I think it will look to retest 8K right now, and then it will go back up to break 9 if it wants to. If there's enough momentum there, look to retest 9K. But if it doesn't do that, then I see a break. If that 8K zone doesn't hold, that area price point doesn't hold, it will then be looking bearish for the short term, and then we will have to see whether it then creates, if it goes on back on reverse and it starts creating lower highs and lower lows, that will spell that will be seen as another confirmation that, okay, this is a correction that can actually take a little bit longer than we expected. So again, look at just like we saw it use these last few weeks, creating higher highs and excuse me, higher lows, and you can see where the pullbacks happened, at what point they bounced from, and then where they respected, where price respected that area, um, and continued on its way up. I'm thinking, well, from what I'm seeing and how the markets work in retesting previous, price points and going back to look at market structure, I think it will try and where there was strong, not strong resistance, but where it took a little bit of energy, it took maybe days to get through to the next level. I think that if it is going to correct down and create these new, test previous support levels and even break them, that's what I think will happen. It will look to retest previous, what's the word? Previous resistance that will now turn as support. So that will be the thing for me, and I'm sharing this with you guys to look out for. But for now, as long as it respects, as long as the volumes and transactions are there, the exchanges are continuing to have this sustained, then it still is technically in a bullish environment for now. But yeah, it tested, at least on let me see, on the daily, it tested the resistance four, 6 times, okay, on the daily time frame, and it threw up wicks. It didn't even close above with these multiple times it tried the body of the candle. Price didn't convincingly close above 9K. It actually threw up wicks, so it quickly went up. It was deliberately timed, calculated push. Flood the exchanges and the markets with volume, and then quickly sell off. So a bit like a mini pump and dump. So right now, that resistance is acting extremely strong. So it needs more momentum. It needs more volumes to another push up by the wells for it to breach that 9K and keep going and sustaining that, looking to test that critical 10K. And so, from what I'm seeing right now, so far, the higher lows are still playing their part in, the bulls are still maintaining their part, making sure that the volumes and the momentum is still on their side. And obviously, with all this bullish news that has been in the media, that's certainly helped create this effect again. FOMO, FOMO is an addictive drug, so you have to be careful with when the market is acting euphoric. That's really when you should be taking an opposite view of that, or opposite opposite action. So just when it's about to, I'm talking in terms of the short term for traders. For long-term investors, for hodlers, you're looking at these pullbacks. And so far, if you've been accumulating during these pullbacks, where we see it run up from 3K to 9K, you've actually made your returns throughout that period. For those previously invested, and especially if you came in at higher price points during the bull market, it's some ways to go until we get the price back up there. But there's no question, from what we're seeing, at some point it will be looking to break, test all-time high, and break the 20K that was set in 2017. That right now, by all indications, is projected to happen. And so so what's astonishing about this in May, I mean, I can't believe we're in June, by the way. It's 3 days in, and it's the first market trading day. Although people don't usually trade, they usually trade Tuesday, Thursday, but was it the third? So the markets are, you know, and they're not going to make their proper moves, and like the majority of the moves today, but this month anyway. The point I was making is last month, May, Bitcoin rose more than 60%. Okay, that's 3/4, 60% in just 1 month. That was the highest monthly return, by the way, in over a year and a half, in 18 months. So that strong bullish momentum, volume, and I mean, all these bullish confluences that we've been seeing, again, absolutely natural after 18 months worth of bear market and these, you know, not crashes, these corrections that we've been seeing. That is to be expected. And in fact, I have to say, so far this year, Bitcoin has been the highest performing, and in terms of rate of return, you know, it has been the highest over any global asset out there. So that is that's something noteworthy and to be celebrated. But also, obviously, with the trade war disputes with China, and you know, domestic news, you know, in terms of the earnings as well, they haven't been growing that much. And what do you call it? The in terms of the markets, the Dow Jones, Nasdaq, S&P 500, we've seen you know, significant sell-offs because it did reach all-time highs, and so with it being at the top, the market is anticipating a crash of some type, a severe correction at least. Because if you look at it on the weekly and monthly, on these charts, on these indices, you'll see that, you know, it's overbought, severely overbought, and so there will be, you know, people, in fact, the withdrawals that are happening, the sell-offs and liquidations that are happening with these positions, stocks, equities, you know, and whatnot, they're being liquidated, and then investors are actually, you know, moving. They're fleeing and looking for less riskier assets right now. Now, Bitcoin, we all agree, is not necessarily the I mean, if you just take a look at its volatility, return of volatility and whatnot, it's not necessarily. It depends who you speak to. Some people see it as a safe haven, especially if you're Venezuelan looking to protect your, you know, hedge against the bolivar, the hyperinflation going on there. Yes, definitely Bitcoin is safer. But for some other investors, you're looking for, you know, not everyone's going to be looking to move to markets and assets are experiment. I wouldn't say experimental, because Bitcoin's proved itself time and time again within 10 short years. But there are still some investors that are looking to go into traditional safe haven assets like gold, and you know, but Bitcoin has surpassed them, surpassed gold, oil, you know, stocks, you name it. So especially in May. So far, what it looks like, what it's bearing out with the stats right now, is that Bitcoin actually is playing to the narrative that it can be used as a safe. It is a safe haven, and that it's uncorrelated to stocks, shares, and you know, oil, gold, and other, you know, economic issues going on, geopolitical issues going on out there. So right now there are, you know, people looking at this as, okay, I'm going to be looking to hedge my position and go into cryptos. But actually, though, from what we're seeing, though, and speaking with high net worth individuals and money managers and family offices and whatnot, they've been advised, professionally advised, to invest at least 1% or more, even up to 10. Again, it depends on what type of investor you are, if you're conservative or aggressive in terms of your risk profile and appetite. And so if you're looking to going to have exposure to crypto assets, you certainly, the minimum that they are advising is at least to get 1%, 1%, and that, worst case scenario, they're being told if they lose that amount, it's something that they can make back anyway in other means. But the point is, the way Bitcoin has moved and the market cycle, where we are right now in the market is looking to, it is in recovery mode. And so this is literally for that, from what they saw, the bear market was a good time to invest and accumulate. Right now, recovery time is also a good time to invest and accumulate. So the professional advice that they've been receiving is to absolutely 100% get exposures to crypto, because the amount that they'll be, the opportunities that they will miss, and have us, the retail investors, get the cake, so to speak. They're not going to let that slide. They've done all the analysis. And so this is already is been happening via the over the counter trading, but it's now stepping up a notch, and speeding things up. They're ramping things up now with these custody solutions and institutional grade tools, and the roadways, so to speak, is being built, and but also the insurance aspect. If their cryptos go missing, or if there's sabotage from within, or that it's there's hacks and breaches, they want to be able to make sure that they're at least insured for their potential losses, and that it's regulated as well. That's going to be that's the major criteria, the major key, at the crux, at the heart of this. They want these institutional protections in place, and also the ability to generate fees, as I said on Friday. These systems that they already have in the traditional space, they want to basically copy and paste that into the crypto space and make it their own and adapt it to their way of making money. So that is going to be something that, without a shadow of a doubt, that's already been played out on the behind closed doors and on the ground level. The motions have already been set during the bear market. That's why we've been seeing all these developments come out in the news, where other people, non-investors, non-traders, would have thought this would have been a worse time, but actually, we're getting all these big names secretly. I mean, it's now coming out into the front, but names like Facebook, JP Morgan, Barclays, and others, they've been building, even they're more further ahead than they report. And so remember, this is all choreographed, by the way. They're not going to release information if it's not the right time to do so, if it doesn't have any type of interest, if it doesn't serve their interest in a way that, they'd have to get some sort of gain. So they are in control of their narrative, their story, and how they're perceived, in terms of the image that they put out. I mean, people can perceive them differently, but that level of control that they have is something that we can see with at the different times that these big businesses and even smaller ones, but you see that it's choreographed. It's not just put out there, and so these big names, they're following each other's lead in a way, and they're coming out and stating, okay, we're at least having these projects out, testing and piloting and whatnot. So that's really been helping create this positive, bullish sentiment in the market now, because not only where we are in the market cycle, in terms of recovery of Bitcoin and by extension crypto, but it's also what's happening on the ground, in terms of what's being developed and published and patented and collaborations and whatnot. And so where we are right now, price wise, I think there will be a correction. There has to be at some point. Better to have it now. Now the correction may start coming in when maybe it will try one more time. I'm taking a look at the daily time frame. Maybe create one more opportunity to retest and then fall down, or perhaps this is just going to consolidate and range for a while because the pressure from the bulls is still there, the momentum and volumes are still there, and create another higher low. And so if this is the case, and there's a particular pattern you should watch out for. It's called a bullish pennant, So, if it creates that and, it breaks out of that again, the momentum is still with the bulls. It's still all of the aspects that create these movements is still being maintained. But bear in mind, some of the the catalysts that gets triggered mostly by whales and traders, or any major fundamental development that's come out and breaking news, that could also be used to move the market as well. And so they have strategies and tactics, strategies and tactics to be able to manipulate the market in a way that they'd be able to trap buyers and sellers at the same time. They could trap sellers, force sellers, what's called a short squeeze, get them to liquidate their positions and be forced to go on a buy. And that also contributes to the push that we've been seeing as well go up. It hasn't been organic. It hasn't just been, new volume, new, users coming into the space. A lot of it is also manipulation and getting different traders to liquidate their positions because they know which markets, which levels are key, and it ends up being coordinated in a way because they know the Fibonacci levels and other aspects, market structure and whatnot, previous support and resistance, and they look to see if and it only takes just one or two wells to get the party started, and that's literally what we've been seeing is end. It consolidates a little bit, and then there's a breakout. It breaks out of a particular pattern that we see. So in this case, what I've been noticing is a bullish pennant. And so, so just to mention right now, just, as always, just take precautions. If you're a trader, don't over leverage at this point because we could still be at a point where we're going to correct severely. It could be the start of that. And but if you're a bull and if you're looking to continue, taking this opportunity to accumulate each time during the dips, you already see in the short term you're going to see the immediate returns. But the long-term investors, they're 100%, by accumulating, and the majority of them are just forgetting it. They're just like, let me just, whatever I can afford on a monthly basis, a percentage of their budget, percentage of their income, have that set aside, buy cryptos at these lower prices and dollar cost average, and completely forget about it. I know it's hard to do during this point, but there's very disciplined investors that do that. That are thinking 5 years, 10 years, 20 years in the future. And so far, because you have, the smartest minds in the world stating where we are right now and where we're going to be, all of the infrastructure being built right now as we speak, is only like literally the beginning of the the beginning of it. I know we're 10 years in, but this is still the beginning of the beginning in terms of the level of infrastructure. Imagine when, especially the institutional grade aspect, when all of that is established and at a point where it's saturated, the market is projected to be total crypto market will be worth in its trillions. That will be looking to compete with other asset classes, because right now we're a baby compared to others. But yeah, we will see a market cap where it will surpass $1 trillion for the first time in history. I mean, we got close with 800 million, but that, excuse me, 800 billion. And that there will be, from what we're seeing, it is already written, you know, in terms of all the investments that are coming in, it will be worth well over $1 trillion. But right now, we still have early opportunity before it gets there. That's why we keep saying it's still early. You know, this initial move up is great, but now we want to see a correction at some point. So either 9K won't hold. I mean, the price will not sustain itself above 9K and go down and you know, essentially break down, and we won't see these higher lows being created anymore. Or what we will just see is consolidation and another run up, another breakout, and retest 9K, then go for that big 10K area, and it's a key Fibonacci level as well. So that is what the market is looking to see, if it's going to continue the bullish momentum. And so there's another thing as well. Bitcoin Satoshi Vision is up by 16%. The rest of the market is down right now, but very bearish. It's in the red right now, but Satoshi Vision is on its own right now, you know, at 16%, double digit in the green. And so there's been, I know, with all the scandal, all the drama around, you know, fake Satoshi, Craig Wright, you know, putting in his claim to be Satoshi Nakamoto, and his white paper as well. I mean, they ended up saying, there was a press release, the US Copyright Office saying that they actually did not verify Dr. Wright's claim. And so, but even then, there was some fake news that came out from a Chinese news website as well. It was actually behind, scammers were behind that. Apparently there was impersonating Coinball, and they basically wanted to spread some information, and you know, to get people to get people excited with Bitcoin SV, I guess. But they said that Craig Wright had transferred some Bitcoins, major amount of Bitcoins, I think is 50,000. And that came from the original Satoshi Nakamoto, like from a wallet that, you know, that with Satoshi, he has over 1 million Bitcoin, and it's fully, you can actually, it's fully transparent. You can see the wallet on the block explorers. But yeah, apparently, well, it was just a false rumor that was spreading that in order to prove that he is the real Satoshi Nakamoto, he would need to move some amount of money. It could be a small money, it doesn't have to be 50K, but just to prove that he is the real Satoshi, right? And so that was not true, guys, but guess what? Rumors do move the market as well. So it prompted people to buy up Satoshi Vision, and we see, I don't know what it's at right now. Let me just refresh and see if it's still 16%, but that got a bit of a pump. It's down to 13% now, but yeah. And yeah, I'm fundamentally speaking though, with Satoshi Vision, I definitely do not believe in it. I mean, big against Bitcoin, original Bitcoin. If you look at the daily transactions, transaction counts, transaction values, and the active regular addresses as well, it doesn't compare to Bitcoin, the original Bitcoin. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of Craig Wright either, and yeah, I wouldn't unless he proves himself to be the real Satoshi Nakamoto, which I don't even think he would be speaking this way and acting this way anyway. I mean, it's just so in contrast to what we've seen, and how you know, previously how the real Satoshi Nakamoto moved, and if you take a look at his earlier emails and his communications, I mean, so far removed from how Craig Wright acts. It's just Craig Wright is looking to pump to shill Bitcoin Satoshi vision and put any type of negative pressure on the real Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Cash, the ABC version as well, to drag them down so Bitcoin SV can be on top. That's his real agenda here. So I don't take all this FUD and all these things that he's doing seriously at all. So yeah, you can believe what you want to believe about him, but unless he proves without any shadow of a doubt that he is the real Satoshi Nakamoto, and there's concrete ways to do that, yeah, he's just using this to move markets, to shill his coin. And other exchanges have spoken, by the way, and some exchanges did delist SV, by the way. So and they are like, if you have experts and exchanges and other market participants saying no, this guy's you know, the technology behind it, and you know, what he's planning to do with SV, no, he's acting really yeah, really the opposite of what how Satoshi Nakamoto would be moving. So yeah, you can see in his actions, it's not really he's manipulated it. It's just a publicity stunt in my eyes. In other news though, Facebook, I know I explained before that they were proposing to come up with their own stable coin, global coin, and they've been in talks with some regulators now. The CFTC are in talks apparently with Facebook, and remember, one of the key aspects of building a major crypto, it will be a crypto brand, wallets will be set up, and it will be used to not only send payments across all its integrated platforms like WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook Messenger. It's not just going to be moving money apart, but remember, this will serve as currency for in-app purchases as well. So, you know, at some point I do expect Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp to even start selling goods and services to us, but it's going to be done in a way that is, you know, it's going to be seamless, is going to be you know, created in a way that makes people's lives easier, and for some markets it will be better to have those to be able to accumulate global coin and have those goods and services rather than what they can find in the traditional space. And so this really will be a barometer, it's going to be a key test, and it will be massive, and I expect it to be there will be some level of success. But if you look at the nitty-gritty and the details and the fact that it's centralized, it's still controlled by Facebook, they can censor it, they can shut down accounts, they can even seize or freeze your global coins, and if anything else is attached to it, if the wallet not only holds global coin but other cryptos as well, perhaps that could be frozen as well. So if everything is integrated and they still have control, that's, for me, is a red herring, it's a warning bell to me, at least. So if it's not decentralized, then there's always a risk, a danger that you know, this may be a problem in the future at some point. And so it is really about the regulatory aspect for Facebook after, you know, the scandals that it faced in terms of its data mining and data transfer and data storage aspect, and privacy worries as well, that they're now looking to tackle and come out with another version, another level to be able to counteract these negative aspects of the last few years that they've been facing. And the CFTC, they want to understand what Facebook, not only their plans and how the technology works behind it, and what their real intentions are. You know, is it market share? Is it, you know, dominance of some sort, you know, control of some sort, you know, customer retention, these users worldwide, 2.7, are they doing these moves to retain them, or is it to acquire new consumers that previously never knew about crypto or Facebook or whatever, but they're looking to tap into key emerging markets? And so because certainly in the developed world, Facebook is, you know, seen getting to a saturated point, where everyone knows about Facebook. People have opened 1 or 2 accounts, and there's as many as there's real accounts, there's also many fake accounts, and people are jaded, and, you know, it's an old thing now, or some people truly value their privacy and they're just completely logging out and you know, deactivating their accounts. So as well as the acquisition, there's also the retention aspect of it, and then they're losing members that they look at key metrics and see how often you have active users, and, you know, those that have you know, a certain amount of likes, certain amount of activity, and then they look at these metrics to see if that's been declining overall or rising. And so they're trying different things, but certainly the public perception now of Facebook is still negative overall. It's still, when I say negative, there's still a seed of doubt. There's still concerns that, you know, they haven't really, what they promised to do, they still haven't carried that out. But I like the fact that they're at least attempting to, you know, communicate with us and try and find ways that they can reestablish that trust again, and so on, and be more transparent and whatnot. But I think already people have been voting with their feet, or should I say with their fingers, and logging off or making changes, and, you know, and whatnot, in some way, reviewing their accounts and their privacy settings and stuff. So it did give a good wake-up call. Think of it as a blessing in disguise, I guess. It gave us a good wake-up call. And then with the advent of Russia's interference, you know, the election hacking and stuff like that we heard, the hacking that we saw of the DNC in order to influence the American election back in 2016, that obviously with the Mueller report has, you know, come out to show there was indeed, even the CIA had said without shadow of a doubt, NSA, that Russia did have a part to play with that. But yeah, regulatory aspect is going to be very important for Facebook, you know, with the enormous scale and power it has, the sheer amount of volume, data volume that they have, and how they know our habits, they know our political leanings, affiliations, and, you know, they know more about us and our lives. And then on top of that, they have algorithms and other tools that measure, you know, in terms of personality traits, characteristics of, you know, other things. They can actually literally calculate and come out with products later on that could emotionally manipulate us. I mean, we see that with these adverts that follow us, you know, when we're looking for something and whatnot, and or when we're trying to avoid it and somehow it comes out. It's madness. But anyway, the CFTC is in talks with them, with Facebook. They want to understand it better, and they want to be able to these proactive moves that Facebook is moving. They want these regulators on their side before launching it. So everything is up for discussion, up in the air right now. They still have their plans, but they want to be able to do this the right way. And so they're taking proactive, they're preempting some of the issues that they may face down the line. So this is why they're having these talks. And what was it as well? They've been in discussion, in talks with Coinbase and Gemini as well. And also, this is according to 2 anonymous sources, by the way, when they were describing speaking about the proposal for global coin. Yeah, I do see that people will, I mean, there will be a great number of people that will adopt global coin, but others will actually use this as a catalyst to go into real cryptos, use this as a basis to learn more. Is actually going to, you know, create another movement or another wave of investors that are coming into the market, into crypto via global coin. So and once they study up and research on this, they may end up sticking with global coin or actually going into and accumulating Bitcoin and other strong projects with real world value. So this will have several type of impacts, and either way, anyway, regardless of how things turn, it should have a positive effect for Bitcoin. Either way, I believe that it's actually going to bring more exposure, awareness, and you know, indirectly help to raise the profile, and consequently the rate of adoption will rise, I think, in my opinion. All good news, all news, as they say, all type of news is useful, is good news. It's you know, all type of publicity is good for you. In another note as well, Walmart is collaborating with big pharmaceutical companies to track drugs on their own blockchain. So no, actually on using Ethereum, I believe. And so this development is big, because you have what's it called, Pfizer, Amerisource, Bergen, I think they're called, Premier Inc., McKesson Corporation, major players, and they've got huge economies of scales. And for them to test something called MediLedger, which is looking to have a decentralized network. And so this is really about the pharmaceutical supply chain. And we discussed before how blockchain technology is great in terms of the benefits that, you know, in terms of supply chain management, and what would be able to achieve using that in terms of traceability, transparency, holding different suppliers to account. You know, you'd be able to see literally from beginning to end where the product, you know, all the stages that it's gone through, you know, from the farm to the shop and whatnot, to the retailers. And so with this aspect, though, if you are aware, with the, I mean, I was watching the news before when they came out stating that there was there's a major push now to try and tackle the opioid crisis in America. And they're really cracking down on these big pharmaceutical. I think there was a lawsuit as well against one particular one. The name escapes me now, but it was in the news recently that there was a class action lawsuit or something against them. And this is the beginning of, you know, future lawsuits against others as well. And that these drugs, these painkillers and other drugs that have been prescribed with that have some sort of opioids in them, they become addictive. And, you know, I don't know what the figures are, literally many thousands of people are dying as a result. So there's the FDA have this legal ruling, though, a law that states via the Drug Supply Chain Security Act that they need to build, these major companies and industries need to build an electronic and interoperable system that will be able to identify these drugs and trace them throughout their, you know, the end, the entire cycle, their entire process. So from the very beginning to the end, from when it's made, from wherever it's the ingredients are sourced from, all the way to the end when it's prescribed. And so, you know, this is really to It is for safety, obviously, number one. These patients that get prescribed these drugs, the adverse effects that it could have, and other, you know, they want to be able to make sure at least that companies get held accountable, and they want the data and information. They want to increase transparency, which notoriously in the pharmaceutical industry, very hard to get. I mean, you have all these whistleblowers and other people that try and get the truth from what's happening behind closed doors with the pharmaceuticals, and you know, many allegations being made, and I mean, there had been some convictions, but these big farmers are major bullies. They do not play. They will find a way to, you know, there's even rumors that they hire hitmen and kill people off, and whatnot. But anyway, I don't want to start conspiracy theories right now. But anyway, going back to the essential point that Walmart is a major player, is obviously in the grocery, in the supermarket industry, and with them collaborating with other major companies, and you know, big pharma is a major one that definitely needs to implement the use of blockchain technology. I think this is definitely a positive development. Anything that increases transparency, efficiency, reduces the costs. Bear in mind that safety, patient safety, I think, I don't have the stats in front of me right now, and I can't remember it, but the amount of people that die from adverse drug reaction, the short is ADRs. I read somewhere, you know, ADRs kill, I can't remember if it was 2 million people or something, but there's a horrific stat that I read that the number of people being severely, like critically ill, they're still alive, but they're somehow, you know, put in a hospital bed, and some of them stay there for weeks, some of them months. Those that are injured in that way, and then there's actually those, you know, fatalities as well. But the number of people dying from adverse drug reactions is crazy. Just Google it, you'll see. And so they're trying to replace and establish, because some companies still use outdated methods and processes, and it also costs more money. And as you guys know, drugs, medical costs in America are horrific, you know. And so in fact, I heard Cuba has a better medical system than America, and they're, you know, in terms of GDP, they're poorer, but yeah, they actually have one of the highest numbers of trained doctors and nurses, and there's medical tourism that goes on, and you know, some people go to Cuba to get their healthcare and prescriptions. Same prescription that would have cost them 75 in America would cost them a few bucks in Cuba. And so there's a real, you know, it's a profit-making system. It's really driven by greed and other aspects. I know I'm sounding biased right now. And the reliance on prescriptions and drugs rather than organic fruit and vegetable and other things, you know, herbs and other aspects, you know, trying taking a holistic approach and trying to create environment in the body that will, you know, be hostile to diseases and other chronic conditions and whatnot. But there's stats, all crazy stats out there to show that these drugs, without proper accountability and traceability, and you know, transparency, there's no way of knowing what you're taking and whether the price point, what you're paying for the drug, is even worth that amount in the first place, if you can get it cheaper elsewhere. And there's also the aspect of potency as well. Some drugs, you know, you pay for something that you thought was high strength, it isn't. They've just conned you, scammed you. So there's all these things that they need to tackle in a electronic, in a manner that's quick, efficient. You can see straight away, log in, you can see who the players are, third parties, who's involved, what they're doing, what has been tampered, not tampered, what has been affected. And if there is any tampering going on, if there's any falsification, any any type of fraudulent activity, it would be able to get spotted quickly. But with the blockchain, because of its transparent nature, immutable nature, fast processing time and whatnot, they'd be able to quickly find any information as it pertains to the supply chain and actually take action far quicker. And they have the evidence, digitally prepared for them. So, this is something which is, because so many eyes are on this at any point in 24 hours a day, anyone can, and I'm talking about anyone involved with permission to get that information, obviously, with this supply chain, they can, they'd be able to see that. So even for auditing purpose, this will be so helpful. But they are mandated, the FDA regulation, on the drug side, on the supply chain side, they have to find a way to track these drugs, to be able to be compliant with the rules in the first place. So this is a great development. I'd rather have certain pieces of information handy. And so if anything goes down, you can always trace and retrieve that information. And by law, because they're mandated by law to do this, have this process in place electronically, it will also save the taxpayer a great deal of money as well. I just hope they can give you guys tax cuts because of that. But it will help. There's mutual benefits all round. There's benefits for the taxpayer, for the government, in terms of like the resources it applies to hold these big pharma companies to account. Law cases, lawsuits, and also there's legal and health wise, there's social ramifications, financial ramifications because of this. So if it saves more lives, if it reduces the costs for both taxpayer, for patients, for the government, for companies, it's a win-win-win-win-win. So this is why blockchain will continue to creep in and be prevalent in different industries. And this will help solidify and legitimate other aspects as well by extension. So this is why blockchain, cryptos, the way they're evolving, the way, the roots of the tree, right? The way the roots are panning out and driving deeper and solidifying and building that foundation for this industry and technology is another example. This is why it's showing us that there's real value in this. And so that momentum, it also helps with that bullish momentum we've been seeing. So all these developments coming out right now, we've been seeing it in the bear market, but now regarding blockchain in particular, supply chain management in particular, big names that you're aware of, that you experience, that you shop in, like Walmart, big pharmaceutical companies. You may be taking drugs yourself, for prescriptions for particular illnesses or something else. If it can reduce your costs, put money back on the money that you have already, you'd be able to spend it elsewhere. This is good for us as well. This is good for consumers as well as patients and governments and these companies and shareholders. Another aspect I almost forgot, shareholders of these companies are going to be happy as well with the efficiencies and the cost margins, and this will help to build value for them long term as well. So there's a strong case that's been set for these companies. So at least they're going ahead and doing this because they don't have much of a choice. They have to follow the mandate, the law that the FDA has put out via the Drug Supply Chain Security Act. Anyway, they have to comply with that one way and another. An electronic interoperable system that identifies and traces certain prescription drugs. And I'm sure if they're just working on a few amount right now, it will be successful and extend to other drugs. So it's applied to all all drugs as well. And so, and this will be enterprise orientated. So there will be a private fork of Ethereum that will help to provide part of that solution. So that aspect, that Medi Ledger network, that platform is going to be another test case as well that will help solidify, you know, this, not only their specific industries, but with the overall space, the technology, blockchain and crypto as well. This will actually benefit us long term. And then you had Salesforce launched their own blockchain platform. And so they have something called a customer relationship management suite, CRM for short. And it's going to be a low code blockchain platform. And it's basically, it's trying to make it easier. Again, the whole point of these processes is to make life easier, simpler, faster, reduce costs, and you know, have all these attractive features that help to build value within the system. So they're looking to create blockchain networks. Other companies can create blockchain networks, and this will help in terms of workflows, in terms of information sharing, data sharing, and this is compared to traditional methods. This is far easier, far faster, and I think they'll be also using open source, what do you call it, Hyperledger Sawtooth as well, and it will be customized. It will be adapted to fit with Salesforce Lightning CRM product as well. So having companies that, especially that they rely on data and information, have these service-based, you know, processes. The way they build the way they build value is different to industries that sell goods, and so this really is all about cutting-edge technology, like that have AI, that have artificial intelligence integrated. You have mechanisms that you can see it will help to authenticate information, share information, and you know, it was slow, it was costly with traditional methods, but this is designed to help speed up things and make it cheaper as well. And so this whole point of creating these new systems to help verify information and have more transparency, have accountability. You can see these transactions if you have access to this, these suites and whatnot, and it's secure, you know, and because again, the whole aspect of authentication and tracking, traceability and whatnot is coming back to the trust issue, is coming back to building value for the consumer, for anyone that is sharing data and information. Credentialing and authenticating is going to be a good, a critical thing. I mean, how do you distinguish something that's real and something that's fake? You could be hearing false news, false information, and you know, that data can actually ruin something else, another process. So they want to be able to authenticate, track, verify, make sure this is right, this is genuine, and have that as an open, transparent, that information to be accessible. Again, helping to increase accountability. Also, this will have a ripple impact on sales, marketing, and so on, because with this information and data that's being authenticated and whatnot, they'd be able to make more decisions. They'd be able to make smart decisions that actually have better impact overall. And so having this information that could be verified, that could be shared, and it's, you know, in an open way, this is something that will definitely help to build value in Salesforce, but again, it will have an impact in its industry as well. And competitors will definitely be keeping an eye out on this and have their own copycat versions or create something from scratch. And so, you know, this issue that we're seeing with companies, what are they going to do with all this insane amount of data out there? and you have all these players involved. How do we manage everything? How do we deal with the process and management and this and that? And so they want to be able to find a system and create a system and devise mechanisms that they'd be able to easily and in a very fast manner verify things, authenticate things, share things, and be able to use that data to make decisions that will have an important impact on the rest of the chain. So again, this has been driven by the need to increase efficiency, reduce these costs, save time, and more importantly, establish trust, having mechanisms where you can have all these different parties and whatnot, have platforms and networks that they can all log in at the same time, anytime that they want, in fact, and be able to see, okay, this is verified, this is trusted, I can trust him, I can trust her, I can trust this. But having systems in the middle of that rather than human beings is far better, far fairer, far quicker than the traditional methods. So that's something to be celebrated. So that's Salesforce. And then you have going abroad to Brazil. Just quickly want to add, because I have to go, there is a state-owned bank called, I think it's called National Bank, BNDES, and National Bank for Economic and Social Development. And this is a state-owned bank, and apparently they're going to use they're going to come out with their own Ethereum, as in ether-based stable coin to fund their own documentary film. Okay. And this is a good development. I mean, using this ERC20 tokens is a good start. But the fact that it will be backed directly by the federal bank, that's another development that we have to watch closely, because we've been seeing this interest with central banks, major banks, financial institutions, and even governments as to how to deal with stable coins, because these are, you have cryptos on their own which stand on their own merit, but then you have others, you have stable coins that act as bridges with the traditional assets, the traditional world, and the other asset classes and values that we see assigned to them, to be able to act as a bridge to help mitigate the effects of volatility in cryptos, for example, and act as another guarantor, as another way to hedge. And so with these stable coins, increasingly they're going to continue growing, by the way, that stable coins backed by gold, oil, any number of assets and commodities, right? And so with this, it will be backed by the federal bank. And so anything that's that has a backing or it's pegged to something, it does increase confidence, it does increase its value slightly. And as long as it has transparency, it can be auditable. It's not going to be like Bitfinex, where it's only 74% backed by US dollars. We want to see that it's one-to-one backed, literally. Whatever you put in is backed 100%. And so the means of fundraising is a big area as well, and using stable coins to do that is a major area of interest right now, because if you have other forms of guarantors, other assets that are there to help give guarantees that should the worst happen, should this fall value, then we've got this that you could redeem and get your money back and whatnot. So it's backed, stable coins backed by any of these assets, like gold, like the dollar, all these global domestic currencies that have high value. I mean, we know with the dollar, it's a world reserve currency, but the way things are going for the dollar, I mean, the dollar on the higher time frames are looking bearish, by the way. The dollar looks like it's going to fall, the DXY. and also there's other countries like Russia looking to reduce their reliance on the dollar and, dollar denominated assets and whatnot. So they're looking to reduce, I think it's they have ownership of some US treasury bills or reserves. I can't remember the exact details, but they're trying to pay that down, reduce their reliance on the US financial system, and increase their commodities, their ownings of commodities, and have alternative systems. That's why they're still interested in cryptocurrencies. It's just they want to be able to create new systems, new ways, or adapt it their way to be able to have some level of control. So, these rumors you've been hearing about a proposed gold-backed stablecoin that Russia, one of these Russian banks may come out with, that's something close to watch. So definitely, I'm not surprised these banks are creating, if it's not their own crypto, it will be a stablecoin or some manner of way to be able to, use this new technology to whether it's to fundraise, transfer money somewhere, whatever the case may be. But there's another one which I really like the sound of, is that the Brazilian president Bolsonaro did not want to happen. He didn't like the idea because it gives power back to these people. Apparently, there is a local crypto related initiative being offered to build this crypto for indigenous people. Now, that is a winning idea as far as I'm concerned. If that comes off the ground, and even if it has I hope they don't keep it too local. I hope it's not permission. I sincerely hope that it could be global. And that it's open and transparent. But a cryptocurrency for indigenous people, and that's right now it's signed off as local, so we're talking indigenous people in Brazil. But even the idea of having this reclaiming of control and power, and having another alternative system that's censorship resistant to control from the Brazilian authorities, that would be amazing. And he criticized that. And by the way, he is the Brazilian version of Donald Trump. He's allegedly racist, sexist, all types of stuff, very similar to Donald Trump. But anyway, he was against this, and I wonder, okay, if you're against it, there clearly is a reason why some of the aspects of this doesn't benefit you or your agenda. And so, great. I'm going to be looking into this more to get more details. But even the idea, it's just the idea of indigenous people around the world creating their own cryptocurrency, own system, blockchains, platforms, networks, however way they can get on this and put their own stamp on it, and have a local economy that they can actually reduce their reliance on the domestic currency. So in this case, the real, if they reduce their dependency on the Brazilian real and go on their own crypto, on their own alternative system, that will have profound implications. And I think that will inspire other indigenous people to create their own. And I sincerely think that if Africa doesn't get into it, or even in America, if certain groups don't create their own at some point and be inspired by it, there will be another mechanism, other stable coins, other local cryptos, global. It depends if they're permissioned, or because you can have some of them where you have to prove that you live in a particular area, you have to be verified or authenticated to be able to participate. But if it's global, if it's decentralized and it's open to the global market, global audience, I definitely can see a pattern at some point, a trend occurring where you have indigenous countries, indigenous people from other across the world helping other indigenous people and empowering themselves in that way. and circumvent the traditional systems and controls. So it really is about reclaiming their narrative, their control, their money, their independence, and the ability of indigenous people are more closely aligned to the natural world as well. They care more about the environment, and there's a level of respect and connection that some people may not understand, but if they can empower themselves in their way, that they can help their community and then help other indigenous groups do the same, it's going to be an actual threat to traditional markets and governments, because on the financial aspect, if they can get control somehow of their own financial financial transactions, that's a big deal. That's a massive deal, to be able to do that. So this is I've got to wrap it up now, but the fact that you have these developments happening at this particular time in the market, and let me just quickly check while I've been talking. Still kind of, still in the same area, no major moves right now on Bitcoin. And yeah, that's it for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you back on Friday. And let me just check. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that's it for now. My final comments is in regards to Bitcoin. So as I mentioned, with the levels that we need to watch out for, look out for 8K. This is why I keep going back and forth with my phone to see, because if there's any sudden movements that happen, as we've seen, it can lose $500, $600 in an instant, just like that. So I wanted to see, because it's so close to resistant area, I wanted to make sure that I don't miss anything. At least I can share it with you if I see anything big happen whilst we're live. But 8K, watch out, guys. 8K, if it breaks down, it will go to 6K, in my opinion, if it breaks that 8K, because I think that there's going to be a move by the bears to take, I'm speaking based on the weekly candle, that is that doji candle that looks like a reversal candle to me. And so that shows that if volumes do not get sustained, if it's not making higher lows, if the high low pattern that we've been seeing is the price points that we've been seeing pull back to and then bounce off, if that doesn't continue, then yeah, it does look short-term bearish, meaning that it can go down to 7K, 6K. I think 6K, if this does break down properly, I think 6K will be tested, because that is a key support area, and it didn't really get tested before on its way when it was flying up with the breakouts that we saw recently. If 6K doesn't hold for the second time, yeah, we can see 4,400, potentially 3,000, the lowest that we've seen recently, 3,100. Even lower than that would be worst case. Well, it depends who you speak to. Again, market will be accumulating, but 1,600 would be the lowest ever, like lowest we can think of. But yeah, so far it's down to the bulls, guys. If the onus is on them to continue to maintain the momentum and the volumes. If it doesn't get sustained, we do expect some consolidation to happen, and and I think the market will retest the previous. It will try and maintain the volume. If it does, then the bullish forecast is 10K, guys. So if it does break that 9K with force and it holds on and continues creating these higher lows, it will go and test 10K at that point. Because it's a key area, but if it doesn't break that 9K anytime soon, guys, it will be looking bearish, and it'll be testing, going down, potentially breaking that 8K, and then from 8K down, I see it having a bit of like a snowball effect, and this is all dependent. If you look at market structure and you look at all these previous highs, these previous lows, the market would like to retest that if there's a reversal in the movements, in the price action. And yeah, so just if you're a trader, take caution right now, as I've always been preaching, but be very critical, be cautious, because with that weekly time frame, you'll be seeing it's overbought, and so there will be some type of major move being made soon, and right now it's down to the bulls, guys. It's down to the bull to continue the momentum, and with the what was I going to say? With these pullbacks as well, right now is being useful to use these pullbacks to accumulate. Long term, you're just buying and forgetting. Short term, you're just accumulating as and when you can, when you have these opportunities for dips. Yeah, there may still be a chance, guys, to be able to get in at a better price, but basing your strategy on I'm going to wait for these previous lows to be hit, and I'm just not going to invest until I see that situation. That's not really evaluating. Make sure, just, I'm not trying to advise you, I'm not a licensed financial advisor, but just make sure you weigh up all your options, and you see what you depends on your strategy again. It depends on your risk profile, if you're conservative or aggressive. But because we're still in the bullish in a bullish territory right now, the volumes and transactions are still being maintained at this price point. Yes, any opportunity we get to pull back, to invest, and be able to use these pullbacks to accumulate, it's great. Because if it does continue onwards and it goes to 10K being tested, that opportunity to get in at the 3K, 5K, 6K may never happen. So this is, this is one of those things where you have to let the market show you what it's about to do. I'm talking technical wise. If you're trading, you want to be able to get good setups and wait for the market to show you what it's looking to retest. And there's certain patterns and confluences you have to look out for. If you're an investor, if you're a hodler, you're just looking for every opportunity to get in at different price points while it's below 10K, to be able to accumulate at good prices. But don't ever feel like you're missing out, in a way, like, regardless, because you're holding these coins for the long term, then you're still holding an asset. You're still you're doing the opposite of what many would be doing during if there's a bit of a scare, the market will be looking to test you and want to release your coins, so the other side can then accumulate your coins. So just bear in mind, do what you need to do. You have a strategy in place, but just be mindful and aware that there are moments, there's key areas right now with Bitcoin that it does need to test in order to really get good, solid, not foundation, a good solid move in one either whichever way it goes. It has to be convincing, it has to be sustained, and that's what we've been seeing so far. The volumes, because they've been sustained, even though we've been seeing these dips and corrections, the higher lows are being created. So we can see it's on an upward trajectory right now. But as the way markets work, the ebb and flow, people are going to take profit, and because it's just been for the last few weeks just been shooting up, at some point we're going to have a number of people closing their positions and booking their profits. So just be mindful of that, and they tend to look for certain confirmations, a break of market structure, or perhaps like an event, a negative event or something that will be serving as a catalyst to break the momentum and head back down. And so just be careful whatever you do as a trader, because it's still uncertain times where we are right now, but it's still looking at least not right now, it's still, you know, showing full signs of recovery right now, where we are. So it's opportunities to be able to get in on the pullbacks. But yeah, just be very cautious, because this thing can end up being a retracement and actually head down if the bears get control of this and look to retest previous low. I still wouldn't rule out 3K. I still wouldn't rule out even 1,600, 1,500. I still wouldn't rule that out. I'm not ruling anything out, because there's still an opportunity for it to go down to correct and then go back up. And that would be far healthier for the you know, for the industry, for the market, to have that correction at some point, whether it goes down to 6K and bounce, goes down to 3K and bounce. I'm very certain it will bounce. We're not sure where it will retest. It will either retest that the key 6K figure, or it can retest the lowest that we've been to recently, 3,100. But just be aware, the market likes to retest previous zones, areas where, you know, there's strong market structure, where the price had actually respected that level. So there is literally there's levels to this, and just so be fully aware that the market is you know, not fully done. Okay, there will be a possibility that, sorry, not will, there can still be a possibility for it to correct down, you know, proper, and then go and take out 10K, 13K and upwards. But yeah, so far right now the bulls have it, but very close, because that weekly candle is giving me warning signs right now. It's telling me, okay, we look like we're about to reverse and have a bit of a correction, and people will be profit taking, is what I'm getting from the charts right now. But again, it's all on what happens on the ground, and you know, some of these wells may make a move right now, but yeah, just be aware that these previous lows, previous highs are going to be tested one way, shape or form. It's just what will be tested first. So yeah, just be aware of that. And definitely got to go now, but thank you very much for your time, guys, as usual, and I'll see you on Friday. Cheers.